Hi, I'm Angela Kane, a communications and marketing consultant for Child Advocates. Child Advocates stands for justice and equity for children and youth every day. It is at the heart of who they are and who they've been for nearly 40 years. In this Zoom spotlight, we want to share some of the main programs Child Advocates offers vulnerable children who face abuse and neglect. Joining me are Cindy Booth, Child Advocates CEO, and Carrie Haley Wong, Chief Legal Counsel for Child Advocates, who oversees its legal services. Good to see you both, ladies.
Thank you.
Good
So
morning.
no problem. Good morning. And so Carrie, I'm just going to start with you so that people get really a general idea of what you do for children every day at Child Advocates, what your department offers children who face abuse and neglect, and how those services work. Give us some details.
Sure. Well, the legal department at Child Advocates is comprised of a team of attorneys who have dedicated their careers to child welfare work. And what we do is kind of unique across the state in that we represent, as attorneys, we represent guardians ad litems and CASAs. So we essentially work with those individuals who are advocating for the children's best interests to help them achieve permanency. And so we do a lot of petitions for guardianship, petitions for third-party custody, helping with discovery and testimony, a lot of training. So really anything that's needed to advocate for the best interests of these kids in the child welfare system.
And I'm sure, how long have you been in this with Child Advocates, I should say? Just tell me that. And if you can, find a story that sort of touches your heart out of all the many that you've done in ways that you've served children.
Absolutely. So I have been with Child Advocates for almost 11 years. It will be 11 years in February. And then I spent almost 10 at the Department of Child Services before that. And so my entire legal career has been in child welfare. And that's the story you'll hear from the rest of our attorneys in the legal department too. It's what we've chosen to do with our law degrees is child welfare work. And have enjoyed it so much and been able to make a difference in so many cases. And so it is challenging to pick just one to help. So I'll talk about one of the cases that's most recent and that just really struck a chord with me. And it's one of those cases that was suffering because of a lot of turnover at Department of Child Services. And the case was just going on and on. And we had to assist the guardian ad litem to intervene to stop the case from lingering, because child welfare cases are really supposed to be very limited in time. Kids are not supposed to grow up in the child welfare system. They're not supposed to have cases that last for years. And so those are the cases that kind of draw me in. And I find myself really desperate to help the kids. So there is a case, I'll do what I can to keep the details so that, no confidentiality issues are disclosed. But there was a case where a child came into the child welfare system at 2 months old. And by the time he was 3 years old, the case was lingering. He's still in the child welfare system. He's still in foster care. No progress is being made. And there was a new baby in the family as well. And it was interesting because with case manager turnover at DCS, sometimes it seems like new case managers just want to give parents more time, kind of start from the beginning. And when the focus is on a child, you realize that we're not starting from the beginning. The case is 3 years old. And so we have to remind of that. So we tried to push DCS to change his plan to adoption to recognize, that this was inevitable, and DCS would not do that. And so we filed the termination of parental rights petition ourselves. And it was a hard fought battle, but we eventually convinced, despite all of the obstacles, mom to sign consents, and we're able to go forward with the termination of parental rights for the dad. This is a case that was actually appealed by the dad. So we recruited a pro bono or a volunteer attorney to assist with the appeal. And then the child was just adopted on adoption day. It was really recently. And I was able to attend that adoption and kind of see the culmination of all the work.
Wow. Just that story, that's one of thousands after 40 years that you've been a part of, many of you. Just think of how you changed a child's life. That's at the heart of it, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it's been, that's an example of a termination of parental rights. So kind of the biggest or most severe case type that we deal with, but there are a lot of cases we've been able to resolve and have children achieve permanency through lesser forms of intervention in a family, like guardianships or change of custody to the other parent, or just placement with family. Or we have a separate kind of group of attorneys who work on immigration issues for the kids. And that's a means of achieving permanency too, because some kids lack immigration status and they need immigration status to achieve permanency and live independently. So we have really countless stories. Just chose the most recent one.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And Cindy, as you've been, I'm going to ask you, how long have you been with Child Advocates, been leading Child Advocates, Cindy? And then talk about why legal services is so critical to what you do.
And that last piece that you said is why I came to Child Advocates in 1994, the first staff attorney. So I became director in 96 and really believed from the very beginning that it was important for our CASAs, court-appointed special advocates, and staff social workers that we call guardians ad litem, would have legal counsel. And I think it helps make their cases stronger. I think it's really important for CASA programs and therefore children to have legal counsel, to, as you heard from Carrie's example, to push that case along from being stuck. And in that case, the solution for the child was to be adopted by someone else, but to have that legal expertise to make sure that those things can happen. And we were one of the few CASA programs in the state of Indiana that had a legal services department that could help do that. And now we are able to offer those services to other CASA programs around the state. And I imagine seeing other children having a guardianship filed, maybe guardianship with a grandmother or some other pretty easy thing for our wonderful, experienced, and very knowledgeable attorneys to do. And that paves the way for the child to have a permanent home. So I think legal services for those programs are crucial.
Excellent. I do too. And Carrie, you kind of answered a little bit, but if you have anything else to add about your why, because as an attorney, you could have chosen to do any kind of work, even higher paying work potentially. Why did you choose child welfare work and for all these years?
Well, one of the benefits of going to law school at IU McKinney is that it's in Indianapolis. And so we have the opportunity as students there, now more than 20 years ago, to intern and, work in the summers and in the semester doing different things. And through that process, I was just able to realize there were certain things I didn't want to do. I did not want to work in criminal law, and I did not want to worry about billable hours. I wanted to do something that really would make me feel good about the work I do, and that the vast majority of the time I was on the right side. I could get behind the cause. And so by serving as an attorney for people who are really fighting for and advocating for whatever is in the best interest of the child, I'm able to be the best attorney I can be, because I believe in that position and I believe in whatever we are pushing for. So the work is hard, the cases are hard, the subject matter and the situations the families go through are awful, but the small wins and achieving permanency for kids certainly make it all worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, what I always say, is there anything more precious than our children? And obviously you too live that every day, as does all the Child Advocate staff. And I'm honored, as I've said many times, Cindy, to be a part of Child Advocates as a consultant and help tell your story, because it is life-changing work on a daily basis. So thank you, ladies, for your transformational work. Thank you for sharing what you do, Carrie, today. We appreciate it. And if you would like to support the work that Child Advocates does, please go to childadvocates.net and find a way to support them, but also learn more about all of their services, which are plenty.